world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Earthquake kills 128 people in Nepal. Prime Minister Dahal, along with medical team, reaches quake-affected Jajar Court. Israel refuses temporary ceasefire in Gaza unless hostages freed. US and Arab leaders to meet in Jordan to discuss Gaza conflict. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks with the UK counterpart Rishi Sunak, exchanges views on the situation in West Asia. In Cricket World Cup, New Zealand to face Pakistan in Bengaluru, while Ashes rivals Australia and England will lock horns in Ahmedabad. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed grief over loss of lives and damage due to the earthquake in Nepal. In a tweet, he said, and I quote him, "India stands in solidarity with the people of Nepal and is ready to extend all possible assistance. Our thoughts are with the bereaved families and we wish the injured a quick recovery." Let's get to updates on Israel-Hamas conflict now. Israel will not agree to a temporary ceasefire with Hamas until the over 240 hostages seized by Hamas during its attack on October 7th are released. Speaking during a televised address, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said this was the message that he conveyed to US Secretary of State Antony Blinken when he met him. The strong reaction came as explosions and flares lit up the night sky over the Gaza Strip on Friday as Israel continued its assault against Hamas. Meanwhile, a convoy of ambulances was struck on Friday. It was to leave Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City and head to the south of the enclave to evacuate injured people. A spokesperson for the Israeli military said it was looking into the report.
We are proceeding with all our might, and Israel refuses any temporary ceasefire that does not include the return of our kidnapped hostages. Israel will not permit the transfer of fuel to the Gaza Strip and opposes the transfer of funding to Gaza. Citizens of Israel, from the outbreak of war on that Black Sabbath, we have lost many civilians, fighters, soldiers, members of the security services, police, and emergency workers. We have lost incredible combat soldiers, beloved Israelis.
איבדנו לוחמים נפלאים, ישראלים נהדרים.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who made his second visit to Israel in a month in an effort to secure a pause in the fighting, urged Israeli leaders to allow for humanitarian pauses in their war with Hamas in Gaza. He said this will allow time to boost aid to the Palestinian enclave and facilitate the release of the hostages.
Even as we work toward progress on each of these urgent needs, we're focused on setting the conditions for a durable and sustainable peace and security. The United States continues to believe that the best viable path, indeed the only path, is through a two-state solution. That's the only guarantor of a secure Jewish and democratic Israel, the only guarantor of Palestinians realizing their legitimate right to live in a state of their own, enjoying equal measures of security, freedom, opportunity, and dignity. The only way to end a cycle of violence once and for all. And it's precisely now, in the darkest moments, that we have to fight hardest to preserve a path of stability, of security, of opportunity, of integration, of prosperity, and of peace. Not tomorrow, not after the war, but today.
Meanwhile, after a visit to Israel, Blinken in fact has arrived in Jordan, where he will meet with Saudi, Qatari, Emirati and Egyptian foreign ministers, as well as Palestinian representatives in Amman. Earlier this week, Jordan asked Washington to deploy Patriot air defense missiles and systems to bolster its border defense at a time of heightened regional tensions and conflict. US Patriot missiles were stationed in the kingdom in 2013 following an uprising in northern neighbor Syria, where the kingdom feared a civil war could spill over and ignite a regional conflict. France will host an international humanitarian conference for the civilian population in Gaza next week as it looks to coordinate aid for the affected region, while Paris has offered its support for Israel over a deadly October 7th attack by Hamas terrorists. There has been growing concern over civilian casualties that have soared under Israel's retaliatory bombardment that has seen thousands killed, wounded and displaced in Gaza. The conference will aim to mobilize financial resources with several sectors identified for emergency support based on UN assessments of the immediate needs and also the opening of strictly humanitarian crossing points into Gaza. Amidst the escalating tension between Lebanon-based Hezbollah and Israeli forces, the residents at the Lebanese border with Israel are leaving their homeland. The tension arose when an Israeli military post was attacked by anti-tank fires. Hezbollah claimed responsibility for firing precision missiles on Israel. As per the International Organization for Migration, more than 30,000 Lebanese have been displaced since the beginning of the border tension. The United Nations has renewed calls for a ceasefire in the Middle East. The world body's humanitarian head, Martin Griffiths, has told UN members that time is running out for thousands of Palestinians. He has called for immediate intervention from the international community. Jody Jacobs reports from the United Nations.
With the conflict in the Middle East now in its third week, United Nations staff, especially those on the ground, are worried. More than 70 of its staff have been killed, and it says providing humanitarian aid is extremely challenging due to the lack of fuel, the ongoing bombardments, and the destruction of its infrastructure. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs convened a meeting in New York on Friday, briefing member states on the situation in Gaza. Martin Griffiths, the UN's humanitarian chief, says close to 9,000 Palestinians have been killed, and says it's unclear the exact numbers as more could be unaccounted for under the rubble. But it's not only humanitarian aid that's a concern for the world body. It says the health system in Gaza is close to collapsing. The United Nations resident coordinator for the occupied Palestinian territories, Lynn Hastings, says the health system is overwhelmed with an influx of injuries combined with severe shortages of supplies, personnel, electricity and water. Since the start of the hostilities, she says 40% of hospitals in Gaza, that's 14 out of 35, have shut. Meanwhile, the UN says UNRWA is also running out of money. It says the situation has grown so increasingly desperate, and the UN and its partners will release an updated flash appeal for more funds to last until the end of the year. Now, the UN has been unable in recent weeks to take any decisive, legally binding decisions on the conflict, as the Security Council remains paralyzed by veto votes and the inability to agree on appropriate language on a Security Council resolution. The UN General Assembly has, however, passed a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire, but this is not legally binding. Jody Jacobs in New York, reporting for DD India.
And up next, we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines with focus on Israel-Hamas conflict. Family, friends and fellow comrades in arms bid farewell to an Israeli Druze soldier on Friday. The soldier was killed during fighting in the Gaza Strip at a military funeral. Lieutenant Colonel Salman Habaka, a member of Israel's Druze Arab minority, was killed while commanding his tank unit as part of Israel's offensive against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Israeli activists in Tel Aviv staged a protest on the Jewish Sabbath on Friday. They pressed the U.S. to use every diplomatic tool to bring about the release of hostages held by Hamas fighters. The activists also staged a traditional Shabbat dinner with empty chairs, symbolizing their missing loved ones. Demonstrators set up dozens of empty strollers outside the United Nations International Court of Justice in The Hague on Friday. This was done to draw attention to the plight of Israeli hostages, especially children abducted by Hamas, and to call for their release. The protesters could be seen singing in Hebrew as some in tears embraced. Argentine human rights groups and Muslim organizations marched in Buenos Aires to demand a ceasefire in Gaza on Friday. Carrying Palestinian flags and signs with messages, demonstrators marched till the National Congress. Meanwhile, Argentine Nobel Prize winner Adolfo Pérez Esquivel called on people to keep on demonstrating until bombarding stopped in Gaza. A group of pro-Palestinian protesters gathered at the port of Auckland to attempt to obstruct the departure of a cargo ship on Friday. They said the ship is loaded with weapons heading to Israel. Several protesters climbed a ladder on the side of the vessel attached to a cargo hatch. The demonstrators said they were prepared to stay as long as needed. Another big news just coming in, Tehreek-e-Jihad terrorists attack an Air Force base in central Pakistan this morning. 3 aircraft and a fueling tanker were damaged after gunmen stormed the Pakistani Air Force training base in Mianwali, inflicting casualties. Pakistan military said that 3 terrorists were killed in response to the attack, while 3 others remain active at the airbase. The military said an operation is underway to clear the area. Also, 9 people have been killed after a Ukrainian missile attack on Friday on an employment center in a Russian-occupied town in the southern region of Kherson. Russian news agencies quoted Governor Vladimir Saldo confirming the deaths as well as details about 9 who were badly injured. There was no report of the incident from the Ukrainian officials or media. The United States is set to provide $425 million worth of additional arms and equipment to Ukraine for its ongoing fight against Russia's invasion. The package uses the last of funds in the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, a more than $18 billion fund that allowed the Biden administration to buy weapons from industry rather than pull from the U.S. weapons stocks. The USAI funds will be put towards $300 million worth of laser-guided munitions to shoot down Russian drones. Ukraine's Donetsk Regional Police released a video showing its officers helping to evacuate the last civilians remaining in villages near the embattled eastern city of Avdiivka as Russia intensifies its attacks. In the video, officers from a police unit known as the White Angels are shown trying to convince an elderly lady to leave her home in Steppe village near Avdiivka. Now, Ukrainian military this week said that Russia was trying to regroup near Avdiivka before launching more attacks. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Aiming to strengthen relations between India and Bhutan, Bhutanese king on a week-long visit to India will meet Indian leadership. Unique hobby of collecting pens at home has brought fame to Indian man from Odisha. Ayodhya, the birthplace of Lord Ram, aims to create a new record. Stay tuned to know what is it.
Swagato to West Bengal, India's cultural epicenter. West Bengal invites you to share its richness, to be united as one family with one shared vision of building a better tomorrow.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. Let's get you more international updates. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephonic conversation with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Friday. Prime Minister Modi congratulated Prime Minister Sunak on successful completion of 1 year of his tenure in office. The leaders reiterated their commitment to continue to strengthen bilateral comprehensive strategic partnership, and they also welcomed the progress being made for an early conclusion of a mutually beneficial free trade agreement. The two leaders also exchanged views on the developments in the West Asia region and also the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Both the leaders also expressed deep concern at terrorism, worsening security situation and the loss of civilian lives there. They agreed on the need for regional peace, security, stability and continued humanitarian assistance. Both the leaders agreed to remain in touch and exchange greetings for the festive occasion of Deepavali. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar concluded his 3-day visit to Portugal on Wednesday. During his visit, he met the Portuguese Prime Minister António Costa, where the two leaders discussed contemporary challenges and guidance for the further development of their ties. Now, this was followed by a talk with Finance Minister João Gomes Cravinho. Both the leaders noted the progress in the bilateral economic cooperation. They also exchanged views, in fact, on West Asia, Ukraine, Central Asia and the Indo-Pacific. Dr. S. Jaishankar also met Portuguese President and discussed the importance of the two democracies cooperating closely in a volatile world. Moreover, the Indian leader offered tributes to Father of the Nation, Mahatma Gandhi and Kasturba Gandhi, followed by a visit to Radha Krishna Temple. He also flagged off the Unity Run, followed by a visit to Portuguese Maritime Museum with senior officials. The Indian leader also addressed the Indian community in Portugal, concluding his successful visit, highlighting Portugal's contribution in promoting closer India-EU ties. He also urged the community to contribute to the 50th anniversary celebrations of our diplomatic ties. Bhutanese King Jigme Khesar Namgyal Wangchuk is visiting the Indian state of Guwahati for a week. This is the first visit of any monarch of the neighbouring country to the northeastern state of Assam. Bhutanese King's next stop would be New Delhi on Sunday, where he will meet President Draupadi Murmu and also hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. India and Bhutan look forward to strengthening their bilateral relations. The Bhutanese King will also travel to the western Indian state of Maharashtra during his stay in the country. Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Guatemala, Carla Samoya Ricari, delivered the 46th Sapru House lecture on empowerment of women in Guatemala, an approach to equality and development at the Indian Council of World Affairs. Minister Ricari highlighted that while Guatemala and India are located away in terms of distance and geographic locations, but both the countries have put two diplomatic relations that are transcended borders. Guatemala is also a country like India and shares the heritage of ancient civilization.
Guatemala is also a country that, like India, shares the heritage of ancient civilizations. Guatemala is recognized worldwide as the heart of the Mayan world, a country with a rich history of more than 3,000 years. We are proud of the legacy of our indigenous community, and indigenous women particularly, who are the ones that hand over the wisdom through stories, spirit, and culture to their families. Indigenous women were custodians of the traditional knowledge system, holding fundamental roles in their preservation and in international transmission. One of the good things that we have now is usually women in the interior of the country, whenever they came to the city just to work, they will tend to take out their indigenous customs.
The 3-day official visit of Indian Minister of Education, Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Dharmendra Pradhan, to the United Arab Emirates has concluded. A memorandum of understanding with DP World and the broader importance of skill development and strengthening the India-UAE relationship has been signed. The signing of another MOU between V1, the human resources arm of DP World, and National Skill Development Corporation solidifies this partnership, formalizing agreements in fields of skill development and the supply of manpower. The UAE, hosting the largest population of Indian nationals outside of India, underscores the importance of skill development as a fundamental element of the India-UAE strategic partnership. India's Information Minister Anurag Singh Thakur on Friday appointed nodal officers for taking down pirated content. The officers have been appointed in the Information Ministry, the Central Board of Film Certification headquarters in Mumbai, and its regional offices in major film production centres.
With the film industry facing losses of up to Rs 20,000 crore every year due to piracy, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has taken strong steps to check the film piracy in the country. After the Parliament passed the Cinematograph Amendment Act 1952 during this year's monsoon session, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has established an institutional mechanism of nodal officers to receive complaints against piracy and direct the intermediaries to take down pirated content on digital platforms.
Government, under the able leadership of Prime Minister Modi, has taken some steps by passing the Cinematograph Amendment Bill 2023 in the Parliament. Today we have appointed the nodal officers in the ministry as well as in the CBFC Mumbai office and the regional offices where the films are hub and where the content is created. The government has done away also with the requirement to renew their film licenses every 10 years and made it valid for lifetime.
The above action would allow instant action by Ministry of Information and Broadcasting in case of piracy and will provide relief to the film industry.
It is a very important amendment which authorizes Ministry of Information and Broadcasting to take action under the IT Act to remove pirated content. The normal timeline for taking down the content is 48 hours, but our experience is once the system gets set, then these content gets taken down within 8 to 10 hours, 12 hours. And I believe that this will be a big relief to the film industry, which is reeling under the piracy.
The Act has been amended after 40 years to incorporate provisions against film piracy, including digital piracy, after the last significant amendments were made in 1984. The amendment includes strict punishment of minimum 3 months imprisonment and fine of Rs 3 lakh, which can be extended up to 3 years imprisonment and fine up to 5% of the audited gross production cost. An original copyright holder or any person authorized by them for this purpose can apply to the nodal officer to take down pirated content. If a complaint is raised by a person who does not hold the copyright or is not authorized by the copyright holder, the nodal officer can hold hearings on a case-to-case basis to decide the genuineness of the complaint before issuing the directions. As of now, there is no institutional mechanism to directly take action on pirated filmic content except legal action under Copyright Act and IPC. The film fraternity is expressing gratitude to the government with regard to the new amendments. Shailendra Mishra's report for DD India.
Up next, we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from India. Heavy rainfall lashed the Indian state of Tamil Nadu on Saturday. All schools will be shut today due to heavy rainfall forecast. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for Tamil Nadu, warning authorities to be on alert. The current spell of rainfall is expected to last till 7th November. 47-year-old Tushar Kantadas, who hails from the Indian state of Odisha, has a unique pen library at home. Tushar's unwavering affection for pens seems unbelievable in a world when pens have been superseded by computers, tablets and mobile phones. He made it after collecting over 4,000 pens, starting price from Rs 5 ballpoint pen to Rs 5,000 cross fountain pens. Tushar Das earned the title of Pen Man of Odisha. All preparations have started to make the Deepotsav program grand in the Indian city of Ayodhya. This time, the journey of Lord Ram from his birth to his coronation will be displayed through 19 tableaus. 15 artisans from Indian city of Lucknow, while 10 from Delhi are working on these. These tableaus will give social messages based on the education of Ramayana and the period. The event related to tableaus will be held on November 8th. And good news is coming in for the tourists in India's Etawah Lion Safari, as now humans are in cage and lions in the open. The Safari administration is making the tourists see the lions from a closed vehicle to see them closely. Currently, there are 4 lionesses and 1 lion, Kanha, in Animal House 1. Besides, precautions for all types of lions are also being taken care of. The move is set to boost tourism in the city. And up next, a quick break. But still to come on this edition of DD India News Up, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese arrives in China on a visit aimed at mending relations between the two countries. 6 people killed as unprecedented downpours swamp Italy's Tuscany. A well-travelled pebble put on public display by NASA. What's so special about it? Stay with us to know.
Always welcoming. The vibe of Punjab is larger than life. Warm up to grandeur that's beyond compare. And history that's dotted with tales of bravery. Smiling soul of India, where music, art, cuisine and culture comes together to create an unforgettable impression. Punjab is all set to win your hearts with its unique and colorful extravaganza.
Shagato to West Bengal, India's cultural epicenter. West Bengal invites you to share its richness, to be united as one family with one shared vision of building a better tomorrow.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such change makers.
Watch Change Makers on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. A quick relook at the top stories once again. Earthquake kills 128 people in Nepal. Prime Minister Dahal along with medical team inspect quake-affected Jhajjar court. Israel refuses temporary ceasefire in Gaza unless hostages freed. US and Arab leaders to meet in Jordan to discuss Gaza conflict. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks with UK counterpart Rishi Sunak. Exchange views on the situation in West Asia. In Cricket World Cup, New Zealand to face Pakistan in Bengaluru, while Ashes rivals Australia and England will lock horns in Ahmedabad. The death toll in Nepal earthquake has risen to 128, while over 150 people have been injured in the Himalayan nation. The 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck Nepal's Jhajjar Court and Rukum district at around midnight. The tremor was felt in surrounding districts as far as in the capital Kathmandu as well. Police has said that 92 people have been confirmed dead in Jajarkot and 36 in Rukum West. All the security forces in the two districts have been mobilized in search and rescue work. Nepal President Ramchandra Paudel and Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal have expressed sorrow over the loss of human lives and property in the earthquake. Prime Minister Dahal reached the earthquake-affected areas with health workers and essential supplies, appealing everyone concerned to help with rescue and relief efforts. Prime Minister Dahal says that all the three security agencies have been mobilized for immediate search and rescue of those injured in the quake. China and the United States are suddenly talking to each other on a range of issues: climate change, nuclear arms control, and even agriculture. Andrew Wood gets us the details from Hong Kong. All right, before we get you more on that, let's turn focus to Australia Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's visit to China. And he is there in China. And when we talk of his visit, then the visit of the Australian Prime Minister to China is aimed at mending the ties between the two countries. Patrick Fogg gets us the details and tells us that trade is at the centre of these talks.
Well, Australia's Defence Minister Richard Marles described the sort of dilemma that his country faces when he was talking to reporters in Washington earlier this week, saying that China is Australia's greatest security anxiety. It is also its largest partner, with the world's second largest economy accounting for about a quarter of Australia's export earnings. That's more than its next three biggest trading partners combined. And Prime Minister Anthony Albanese intends to hit home with the message that trade is an anchor for stabilizing relations between the two countries during his visit. Now, he won't be meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping until Monday, but he'll be attending a top imports convention in Shanghai today. He'll also be speaking with a large group of business leaders tomorrow. And it's got to be said that relations have improved considerably since he came to office, with China lifting most of the trade restrictions imposed in 2020 following a series of diplomatic disputes. And that improvement in ties comes also despite the fact that Australia has deepened its security alliance with the US, with Washington notably agreeing to sell nuclear-powered submarines to Australia under their AUKUS scheme. Prime Minister Albanese says he will raise topics of concern, and in particular tensions in the South China Sea, when he meets with President Xi on Monday. But experts say that despite the fact that the Albanese government has put dialogue at the centre of its approach, there is still a long list of differences, and the differences remain the same, essentially.
All right, just a while back, we told you that China and the United States are suddenly talking to each other on a range of issues, which include climate change, nuclear arms control, and even agriculture. We've got this report from Andrew Wood telling us more on this.
Well, there's quite a wide variety of talks and discussions going on amongst or between Chinese and American institutions and politicians and officials. Sometimes, like on agriculture, the United States Department of Agriculture will attend a gigantic trade fair that starts at the weekend for the first time ever. Lots of representatives of American agricultural organizations covering exports of things like soybeans or grains or wheat have been in Beijing meeting their counterparts, and there have been commitments, admittedly non-binding commitments, signed by the Chinese to buy more American agricultural products. And that's important because ever since President Trump, or Donald Trump when he was president, put restrictions and tariffs on many Chinese products, China has tended to look elsewhere to diversify its supplies of agricultural products, and countries like Brazil have done very, very well. On Monday, we've got the start of discussions between American and Chinese teams of politicians and officials who deal with nuclear disarmament, China's been reluctant to talk about that in the past because it says it has so few nuclear weapons, only about 500, the Pentagon estimates, compared to America's 6,000. And then, of course, you've also got John Kerry, America's presidential envoy on climate change. He's meeting his counterpart, his Chinese counterpart, over the next few days as well. So remember that President Xi Jinping said a week or two ago that climate change was one of the few bright spots of the relations between America and China. So there's potential on all of those things for some progress, probably not groundbreaking progress. If there is going to be any groundbreaking progress, that's probably going to be left to the meeting, the expected meeting, although it hasn't been fully confirmed yet, the expected meeting of President Xi Jinping and President Joe Biden in San Francisco at the APEC forum in about 2 weeks' time. In Hong Kong, I'm Andrew Wood, reporting for DD India.
US President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden met with the families and victims of a mass shooting in Lewiston, Maine. A gunman opened fire on a bowling alley and bar in Lewiston on October 25th, killing 18 people and injuring 13 others before killing himself in a cargo trailer parked in the parking lot of the recycling plant where he used to work. US Army reservist has been identified as the killer. While talking to the victims, Biden said that guns should be used reasonably. He also called on Congress to pass gun safety legislation, which has been on hold.
This is about common sense, reasonable, and responsible measures to protect our children, our families, our communities. Because regardless of our politics, this is about protecting our freedom to go to a bowling alley, a restaurant, a school, a church, without being shot and killed.
Eric Trump, the second son of President Donald Trump, testified that he relied on accountants and attorneys to verify the veracity of financial records that a judge ruled were fraudulent. On Thursday, Eric Trump said that he had no knowledge of those estimates. Donald Trump is set to take the stand in the trial on Monday. The trial, which is expected to last until December, is one of the many legal issues confronting Trump as he seeks to regain the White House. Donald Trump faces 91 criminal charges in 4 criminal cases, 2 out of which stem from his efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss to Democrat Joe Biden. Trump's other son, Donald Jr., testified this week that he had little to do with the evaluations under the scanner. Trump's daughter Ivanka is due to testify on Wednesday.
Buildings, basketball courses, so many other great properties. And the witch hunt that this woman is under, the witch hunt that this person's under, to get my father for political purposes, is disgusting. They drag Don and I and Mom into it as collateral damage. They only want our names in this thing because it sensationalizes my case. We've done absolutely nothing wrong. We have a better company than they could have ever imagined.
German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock arrived in Armenia on Friday. On the first day, Baerbock met her Armenian counterpart Ararat Mirzoyan and also paid homage to the victims of Armenian genocide at a memorial in Yerevan. Further, she is expected to visit EU peacekeeping mission in Armenia, engage with refugees from Nagorno-Karabakh region and hold talks with Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. Baerbock is on a 4-day visit to South Caucasus region. At least 6 people have died and 2 were missing after rivers overflowed due to heavy rains in central Italy as Storm Ciarán lashed Western Europe. The Italian government declared a state of emergency and allocated an initial €5 million to help the worst hit areas. Italy's civil protection authorities have also issued a warning of heavy rains and strong winds in central and southern Italy, with high red alert for the northern region of the country. Locals in Campi Bisenzio started cleanup operations on Friday after the Bisenzio River burst its banks and flooded the homes of the region as Storm Ciarán lashed through the area. The scale of devastation at the Mexican coastal city of Acapulco has left thousands with no option but to rebuild their homes from the scratch. The Category 5 Hurricane Otis wreaked havoc in Acapulco as well as surrounding communities. leaving around 100 people dead or missing and causing extensive damage, estimated at around $16 billion. The government of Mexico released a $3.4 billion US dollars plan for the city on Wednesday, saying it may spend more if needed. The plan includes tax rebates, humanitarian help, and infrastructure rebuilding. Along with the humans, vulnerable sea turtles are also facing new threat of this season after a sanctuary for their protection was devastated by Hurricane Otis. The storm has destroyed nesting area of the olive ridley turtles, black turtle and the leatherback turtle. And back home, the air quality index of India's capital, Delhi, deteriorates to the severe category. New Delhi topped a time list on Friday of the world's most polluted cities, compiled by Swiss group IQ Air. Smog covers Delhi as cold, heavy air traps construction dust, vehicle emissions and smoke, and is causing a surge of illnesses among the city of 20 million people. Among rising pollution levels, the Commission for Air Quality Management has implemented restrictions in the capital to combat severe pollution. Meanwhile, in India's financial capital of Mumbai, a layer of haze engulfs the region as air quality deteriorates. People say that pollution in the morning and evening is high, and also many were facing breathing issues and asked the government and authorities to take action and bring relief to combat severe weather. Mumbai has issued a government notification asking construction sites to use barricades and banned the burning of garbage as a move to combat the rising air pollution. DD India correspondent Jessica Taneja joins us from Delhi, and DD India correspondent Shishir Shelar joins us from Mumbai. Jessica, first to you. We've given a very severe account of the air pollution in the national capital, and we've also told our viewers how the air quality in the national capital is at a hazardous level. What are you seeing on the Delhi roads?
Well, it's absolute mayhem on the roads of Delhi, but the traffic continues as usual because the light now seems to have come out. But if you've noticed early in the morning while on your way to work or even otherwise, you've noticed a thick smog, on the roads in Delhi, especially few parts of Delhi NCR. But that is not one of the primary concerns. The concerns that is right now for people to ask that why are they breathing such toxic air? And that seems to continue. As a matter of fact, there has been a 740% increase in stubble burning in Punjab, and that perhaps is one of the contributing factors that has led to this toxic smog of air that all of us are breathing today. And not just this, the particular point about stubble burning, there are also multiple factors contributing to it, particularly weather. Since 2020, we've seen for the first time no rains around this time. And if you go by the IMD forecast, then there's not going to be any in the next 7 days as well. So, of course, until and unless we learn a lesson here and start implementing measures which would help us to breathe quality air, that plan seems far-fetched, Preeti.
All right, what has been the word by the IMD on the days ahead?
Well, no rains for the next 6 days for sure, because the westerlies that are flowing in from Punjab and Haryana are pushing all the toxic pollutants here. And that has been the reason for this sudden increase, as we know. And the rain gods are not going to help. And I spoke to the IMD officials a few days ago as well when this toxic haze began to be visible. And he said that do not wait for any respite from the weather, but at least we're hoping as temperatures, would sort of during the day go up, we can expect some relief, but that's also going to be very minimal, and expect people to be in hospitals with wheezing issues, with coughing issues. In fact, Preeti, I'm right now outside one of the hospitals in Delhi, the Apollo Hospital. In a few moments from now, I'm going to be telling our viewers as to what is really happening inside hospitals, because if you believe the reports, doctors here say that there has been an influx of patients in the past few days, and it's going to only increase until and unless the hospitals are prepared, the government is prepared, and the implementation is accurate. We're told also the smog towers that were inaugurated 2 years ago or a year ago to sort of curb the pollution menace have also not been functional. So it's just not the authorities failing us, they're badly failing us, and the implementation of those measures, be it the odd even scheme or even introducing or sprinkling water on the streets, nothing is going to help. The PM 2.5 levels are as high as 600. The normal air quality is supposed to be between 0 to 50. So this is not the time again to blame to play blame games. But this is what we're seeing from politicians to people who are supposed to implement these measures.
All right, Jessica, from here we turn focus to Mumbai. Our correspondent Shishir Shelar is joining us from Mumbai. Shishir, we heard the account of Jessica telling us how bad the situation is in the national capital. How is the situation there in Mumbai?
Well, absolutely, Preeti. Jessica rightly said here, but compared to Delhi, Mumbai's air quality index is ranging between 130 to 160. Especially some pockets of Mumbai is actually recording almost 175 air quality index. Obviously, and that cognizance, the Bombay High Court have also taken a suo motu action, have already directed the local authority to work on these particular aspect here. Of course, at this point in time, as I told you, that some pockets of Mumbai, the air quality index is already ranging between 170, and that's the reason the quality of air is depleting at various levels here. Well, the reason, like in Delhi, there are various reasons that we've seen here, but in Mumbai, the reasons are different because in recent time we have seen here the large construction activities in across Mumbai, especially during COVID times. The construction, especially in Mumbai and the surrounding area, was stopped completely. But now it has again started, and that's the reason we have seen here that the air quality index because of the construction activities, the quality is decreasing day by day. The first action. The second important thing, of course, the garbage, the dumping grounds near Mumbai. Especially the Vikhroli region of Mumbai and the other part of the central Mumbai is actually facing because of these dumping grounds here, and that's the reason the air quality index is depleting day by day. But obviously, the BMC, the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai, has taken action and actually deploying various machines at various locations in Mumbai so that they can keep the control on the depleting air quality here. That's the one aspect. The second important aspect is, of course, as Bombay High Court has directed the municipal authority to keep a check on the new construction activities, and they have to follow the SOPs which have been laid down by the government here. So these two major activities that probably the local authority is working upon. But as far as their quality index and particular reason behind it, these two reasons that I've told you already is major reason behind depleting air in Mumbai.
All right, Shishir and Jessica, thank you both of you for joining in with those details from Mumbai and Delhi respectively. And up next, we take a look at other stories which are making it to the headlines from across the world. A sample of asteroid Bennu brought to Earth by NASA will soon be on public display. The first display was made at the National Museum of Natural History in Washington on Friday. The near-Earth asteroid Bennu was found to have carbon-rich soil, including water-bearing clay minerals. As per NASA, all these ingredients are crucial for development of life. French impressionist Claude Monet painting will go on sale at Paris auction for the first time in decades. The painting, displaying rare and trademark of Monet's style, was painted in 1886 and is expected to fetch up to 3 million euros in the auction. 2 snow leopards have appeared at the Bronx Zoo in New York. These leopards, listed as vulnerable by the International Union of Conservation of Nature, live in the highest areas of Central Asia. The cubs, one male, one female, have not been named yet. Up next, a quick break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Deposit delays hit numerous US banks on Friday. Stay with us to know why. It's heartbreak for cricket fans. Indian vice captain Hardik Pandya ruled out of rest of the World Cup owing to an ankle injury. Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. A quick look at the updates from the world of business now. Wall Street's main stock indices rallied on Friday as bond yields fell sharply. The data showed signs of slowing US jobs growth and an uptick in unemployment, boosting hopes that the Federal Reserve is done with its interest rate hiking campaign. The S&P 500 gained 0.94% to end at 4,358.34. Meanwhile, the Nasdaq Composite gained 1.38% to end at 13,478.28. Also, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.66% to 34,061.32. The unemployment rate edged up to 3.9%. Multiple US banks were hit by deposit delays on Friday caused by an error at a payment processing network. Banks stressed that customer deposits remained safe and the bug was introduced by human error and not a malicious attack. The banks stressed other banking systems were functioning normally. The Federal Reserve said that the problem was caused by a processing issue at the private sector operator of the automated clearinghouse, a national network for processing transactions. The ACH system allows banks to send electronic payments to each other. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now to get your sports updates. Pakistan won the toss and elected to bowl in their high-stakes World Cup match with New Zealand. A total of 115 matches have been played between New Zealand and Pakistan in the ODI format. Pakistan has won 60 matches, while New Zealand has won 51 matches. 3 matches ended with no result. New Zealand's 3 successive defeats have created opportunities for other teams to catch up, and Pakistan is in the best position to cash in and maybe reignite their session. Ashes rivals Australia and England will lock horns at Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad in the second match of the double-header on Saturday. Australia found themselves in some early trouble with 2 consecutive defeats to begin their tournament, but they are now on course with 4 big wins on the trot. It all began with a hard-fought win against Sri Lanka. The Pat Cummins-led team, in fact, then followed it up with blistering batting performances against Pakistan and Netherlands. England, on the other hand, are on the brink of exiting the World Cup. The defending champions have picked up only 1 win in 6 matches and are at the foot of the points table. In their previous outing, they were hammered with a 100-run defeat against India. The match is slated to start at 2 p.m. IST. Earlier, Afghanistan defeated Netherlands by 7 wickets to register their 4th win in this edition of the World Cup on Friday. Afghanistan chased down Netherlands' 180 target in 32 overs. Captain Hashmatullah Shahidi struck unbeaten 56, while Rahmat Shah scored 52 to lead Afghanistan home. Earlier, Netherlands suffered batting collapse as they went from 73 for 1 to 179 all out. Sijbrand Engelbrecht struck a gritty half-century but failed to push his team to a comparative total. Mohammad Nabi, Noor Ahmed, Mujibur Rahman were among the wickets for Afghanistan. Indian vice-captain Hardik Pandya has been ruled out of the rest of the World Cup after all-rounder sustained an ankle injury last month as per the International Cricket Council, as it approved Prasidh Krishna as his replacement. Pandya injured his left ankle during a match where India won by 7 wickets over Bangladesh in Pune on October 19th. He then missed matches against England, New Zealand and Sri Lanka. Semi-finals bound Team India have managed well in the absence of Pandya and lead the table with 7 wins from as many matches. They take on second place South Africa in Kolkata on Sunday. Quick updates from the entertainment industry now. British actor and comedian Russell Brand, accused of sexually assaulting a film extra in the set of 2011 romantic comedy Arthur. The suit follows a recent flurry of allegations reported against the 48-year-old performer by several women accusing him of assault and inappropriate behavior. Later, the case was brought in state court under New York's Adult Survivors Act. US music star Taylor Swift topped the UK singles and album charts with her re-recording of her award-winning hit album 1989. The re-recording of her 2014 pop magnum opus 1989 debuts at world #1 on the official albums chart with a massive 184,000 chart units, more than double of original 1989's opening week sales 9 years back. But it's just the beginning. Taylor Swift has also claimed the biggest opening week for any album this year, breaking previous records of many eminent singers. The album 1989, the first week sales, lands as the fastest selling vinyl release of the year. That's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook and also Instagram. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.